All right, everyone, welcome back. It's another episode of the Balanced Blues Brothers podcast. A little bit more cheery for me, not so much for Stu this time, but he's back to review the second leg of the Carabao Cup semifinal. Again, just to give him a quick introduction, very experienced coach, 16 years in college. He's got NISA Pro experience, has won the cup there. And as far as I don't know if it's official yet, but probably going to step into a new management role soon. Um, but look, we'll get into it as well. Thanks for coming on, Stu. Looking forward to discussing with you because I think I got a lot of feedback from Chelsea fans in our first episode, and we were just talking kind of pre-recording about how there was in the Chelsea side there was this narrative that Burrow just sat back in the first leg, parked the bus, this, that, and the other. And definitely after watching and re-listening to some of our stuff again and having the recording the first time, I mean, it was absolutely. I mean, that's just from the Chelsea side, absolutely nonsense. And you said it in the first episode. If Chelsea were able to get that quick lead in the first half, it could be in big trouble. And if it was so easy to park the bus, they'll just do it again and get the result. And obviously, that's not what happened this time. 6-1 win for Chelsea. It was 6-0 at one point. I don't want to dig too deep on you there, but yeah, I mean, it completely flipped the script in this game. And I think I'll let you get into it here in a minute from your side, but I think really from my perspective, what flipped it for Chelsea this time was that midfield three of Caicedo, Enzo, and Palmer was much, much more effective than what we saw in the first match. Getting Palmer in more of that cam role, that 10 role, did a lot more for the team than having him in the false nine, not really on the ball. But I think even from early on, the first chance Chelsea created, diagonal run from Chilwell right through the heart of the defense and almost has a headed chance in on goal. I think he makes a huge difference in that match because he offers way more in the final third and in the build-up phase than Colwell did in the first leg. But from your perspective, what went wrong for Burrow in this match?
Yeah, well, let's just say last time I was here, I said it was a pleasure to be here, and I meant it. I don't think I mean it this time, but it's a pleasure to be here. But you could see it was going to be different as soon as the lineups came out, because for me, Middlesbrough, the joy they had in the first leg was Jones v Colwell, right? And Jones is out injured, and Colwell shifted into centre back under very little pressure, and Ben Chilwell's in now. I'm a big Ben Chilwell fan. I'm still a believer. I'm hoping Ben Chilwell starts for England when the Euros come around. It's an upgrade defensively. It's Borough's one kind of maybe scouting outlet done. And if 20 minutes in, if you pause the game, I would have said Chilwell is the most influential and best player on the field. Another tactical difference was Palmer was very, very good in the first leg, but he's not a centre forward. I think the same about Morgan Rogers in this game. I'm not going to say we lost 6-1 because we picked the wrong centre forward, but Morgan Rogers is not a centre forward, but he had a very good game for Middlesbrough, maybe even the best player. But when you've got Cole Palmer getting on the ball and looking upfield, and you have Broha occupying centre backs, those first two goals, one's an own goal and one he assists, but the traditional centre forward role filled by Broha, to me, made a big difference to the game. I thought Sterling on the right as opposed to on the left to get in I'm forgetting the boy's name. I'm sorry, the right winger in the team.
Madueke, I think, had some time, and then Mudryk was also
he came off the bench,
start.
but first leg Madueke's right and Sterling's left, right. This time Sterling's on the right. He was the man of the match for me. He was fantastic. I thought he was very poor at the Riverside.
Yeah, he was in the first leg.
And Mudryk's on the left. I don't know if I thought Mudryk played well, but you've also got Gallagher out. So it's a very different Chelsea team. It's a little bit of a different Borough team, but I'm not going to be disingenuous and say that was the story of the show, right? But Carrick's got a tough hand here. He's got Ayling cup tied, who I know he'd like to play. He's got Fenazaz cup tied. He's got his one pacey outlet out. So I feel like he came in here, he put a midfield three of Barlasser, House, and Crooks. That's three big, powerful, physical guys. Try and jam up the middle again, which I'll show you in the screenshots. But I think Pochettino saw that coming and didn't even try and battle it. I'll show you the screenshots and what I mean by that, which I thought was very, very clever. And then we have a front three of Force, Hackney, and Rodgers. For me, Force is the centre forward in that three, but we saw Rodgers central. I don't believe Hackney's a winger. I believe he's a centre mid, but it is what it is. But I think the kickoff kind of gives you, if it's a TV show, it's a little foreshadow of how different this game's going to be, because when Middlesbrough were on the back foot in the first leg, they got out time and again, and they often get out via Levi Colwill's zone there as a left back. Now, Middlesbrough kind of launched the kickoff to the left back almost as if they're throwing a jab out, and Ben Chilwell wins the ball. And I thought Ben Chilwell was just fantastic. So I'm going to put some screen share shots up here.
Yeah,
What I
and just
thought was interesting.
on Chilwell too. I mean, you called it even before the match. You sent the text to me and said, circle Chilwell and said this changes everything.
I really like Chilwell, and as a left back, I don't think he looked by any means bad in this game. But as a left back, I didn't think anything of Levi Colwell, if I'm honest.
No, and in most of the season, he's not really helped us out much on that left flank. I mean, he's kind of just there, doesn't offer nearly as much in the attacking phase as Chilwell does.
Yeah, so if you look here on the screen, can you see that?
Yeah, I can see.
So this is actually not as dissimilar to the first leg as you'd think. This is Chelsea on the ball. You've got this 5-man Middlesbrough overload kind of clogging up the centre, and you've got Chelsea not doing a great job of getting between the lines and getting on the ball. So, like, those people who said Middlesbrough parked the bus in the first leg, this is the example that it's not easy as just to say go out there and just defend, guys, because this is Middlesbrough on the verge of a cup final. If they could have went out there and just defended and got the result, they would have done it. They played a very similar defensive structure, very similar defensive line. Now, the difference is how Chelsea played. If you look here, obviously Chilwell's infinitely better than Colwell at left back, but you've got a different tactical setup here. This is Mudryk going wide, and this is a very confident Chilwell in here. Now, this is very dangerous and very tough to play against, because you got 1, 2, 3 players central all the time, and at any point a midfielder can come and make a fourth body. Now, compare that to the first leg, where we had screenshots of Cole Palmer's your only centre forward. He's got the ball about where the ref is, and there wasn't a single Chelsea player other than Enzo Fernandez up on this line. So it's just a completely different dynamic from Chelsea, and it's much, much tougher to play against. I thought Rav van den Berg actually did an admirable job against Chilwell and Mudryk, but obviously Sterling's tore them up on the other side. I think three of the first 4 goals come through Raheem Sterling on that right wing, right? I know he doesn't directly score or assist them, but they come from him getting involved. Now, if you look here, this is the penalty claim. You got Mudryk here, occupying Forster, the winger. You've got Broha occupying this centre-back, and then you've got a charging Chilwell. So what they did consistently really well is switch levels, where somebody would come high on the line, Enzo or Broha, and they'd come off it, and Chilwell or another runner would go in behind. It happened a lot. When Enzo got the ball deep, he often started high and switched levels. So the movement from Chelsea was a lot better. But this is just, again, this is the left back. We can't, for copyright reasons, play through the clip. But that could have been a penalty, right? I don't think I would have given it. But that's a ball over the top and a penalty. And it's the left back coming to do it. Now, the people will say, well, why can't Marcus Forss track him? He's the winger. Well, look, Forss has been hypnotized by the movement of Mudryk here. So it was very clever. They'd actually have little 3-man oversides, 3-man overlaps on both sides throughout the game. He's an example of that. We got the ball here.
Yep.
Broha, Mudryk, Chilwell, 3 Chelsea players, and it's going to be tough for Borough to defend that. Now, what's different to what you see a lot is usually when you see this, you'd see the far fullback come in and invert a little bit. But look, 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. This is the game plan. If
Burrow's gonna plug the middle, we'll go outside and beat him that way.
Yeah, exactly. Look, draw a box here. That's 4v1 Borough.
Yep.
Right in centre mid. But I think Pochettino has almost tipped the cap to Carrick. Like, all right, you got me last time. You clogged up the midfield. You made it difficult. Our forward comes in as a 4th man. Can you deal with this? The answer, obviously, a very spectacular no. We'll go to how the goals are scored. But 4 of the first 5 goals are Chelsea players driving to the byline and cutting the ball back, and one of them's a straight giveaway.
And that's a dangerous ball for any team, right? But if you let a Chelsea team like this Cup semifinal on the road again and again. Those are going to be hard to deal with. And you're right.
Yeah.
They did. They made these wide overloads. Chilwell, especially. I don't know if maybe they play this way with Colwell if he was starting at left back and not Chilwell. But I don't think that we would have been able to play as nearly as well because of how
Yeah.
Chilwell can join that attack and help with build-up, help with runs in behind, help with crossing, help with cutbacks. He makes a
Yeah.
big difference for our
I mean,
attack.
you can play that way with Colwell if you want, but I don't believe he does a third of what Chilwell did. And this, we'll reverse a bit and go through the game, but this was kind of the moment where I thought the dam was breaking because early in the game, the first 10, 15 minutes, I don't feel it was that bad. I certainly didn't see the slaughter coming in the first 10, 15 minutes. We get 1-0, 20 minutes, it still doesn't feel that bad. And it's becoming very, very clear that Borough is still kind of holding ground in the middle, and they need to shore it up on the flanks. Now, what's a bigger giveaway than anything of that is in the second half, Force came off and Dijksteel came on. Dijksteel's a right back, man. Dijksteel is in no way, shape, or form a winger, but that was almost Carrick kind of kneeling to the pressure and just trying to stop it. But in the 33rd minute here, it's 2-1 on aggregate, 2-0 in the game. And Cole Palmer started the clip on this shoulder. He pulls off Barlasser, gets on the ball, faces forward, and pay Broha. And that's when it really felt broken to me because it's almost like, okay, like they're coming down the middle as well now. And, I don't like to play amateur psychologist as often as some other fans do. But at some point in this game, Middlesbrough definitely seemed to me significantly rattled. I think the emotions and the mentalities coming into play at some point in this game. What were your thoughts on the first 15 minutes? Because, I remember 7th minute, there's back-to-back crosses. One of them is Van der Berg overlapping. Force sends one in. You got the penalty claim for Chelsea in the 11th minute, which I thought was clever play and good timing to release Chilwell. But you wouldn't have paused the game and convinced me that Middlesbrough were going to get battered at that point.
No, before that Chilwell chance, it kind of still felt like teams were still feeling each other out, not wanting to give a ton of their, overall chances going forward. But I do think that, that Chilwell chance was the first big moment. I don't think that was a penalty kick myself. I don't, especially as a goalkeeper, I'm gonna give them a little bit more protection in that case. They got to defend their box somehow.
Yeah.
I thought he did a good job on that. The Borough keeper he did flip Chilwell, but he did get the ball first without taking the man out. So credit there on that. And I think that was when I saw that too, I said, okay, that's a new offensive wrinkle that I haven't seen from this team in a while, right? To basically push the outside back so far forward to the point that he's actually underlapping into midfield, right? And then that's going to give more to us, and we can get those chances in. I think you did a really good job showing there too. If Chilwell was going, the other the center forward's going to move a step back and check two, or vice versa. The center forward's going, Chilwell's going to step back and check two, and that gives a decision for those guys to make at all times. Who's
almost
taking who,
win.
and
you can't win, right? You pick your poison.
Exactly, because if you don't have rapid communication and just inherently know who's doing what there, man, you're in trouble all day, and it's just decision after decision to make. And you force a team to make decisions long enough, I kind of feel like they're going to make the wrong one eventually.
Yeah, and you got to give Pochettino credit because the first goal, his big changes, Chilwell and Broha, that license he gave Chilwell to come in central. If anyone watching goes back to watch the first goal, it's Chilwell. He's in a central midfield position, to be honest. He plays a ball in the seam, finds Sterling. Sterling squares it to Broha. It looked live like Broha had scored. It's an own goal off Johnny Housen, who's recovering, but for all intents purposes, it's a goal forced by Broha. And it's that traditional centre forward role paying off, right? There's a lot to be said for it. Even then, though, I don't think Middlesbrough laid down. Thought the commentator dropped the ball by not saying Middlesbrough respond with force, literally, because it's less than a minute later and Marcus Force wins a corner. And then it was like a really nice little corner routine. And Rodgers hits a shot, and that's a good save from Petrovic, low down to his left. So it's worst case scenario for Middlesbrough because their only real advantage in this game was going to be scoreboard pressure, was going to be anxiety, and that early goal from
Yep.
Chelsea kind of made that a non-factor, which is a shame. But the 24th minute, I remember there was some good counterattacks from Middlesbrough, but the lack of pace to me was glaring.
And you said that pre-match. You said there's going to be
yeah,
hardly any pace in this team today.
yeah, the commentator said something about like Rodgers having the advantage over Silva. I mean, I completely disagreed, to be honest with you. Like, anytime I saw the ball go in behind, still, Rodgers got one foul, but I didn't I didn't feel like Silva was in any trouble. In fact, I think he played very well in the game. I thought his leadership back there was fantastic, and that's really all Middlesbrough reduced to. They did manage to clog up the middle again, but Pochettino did such a good job of picking the right personnel and overloading the wide areas that, how many times in a game can you kind of clog the middle defensively and get battered? But that's what happened. And second goal comes, and it's that right flank again, right? It went to Sterling. It was like
it was Axel Disasi on that right back.
Well, it was, but he's released, if you remember, by a back heel from Sterling.
Yep.
So they play it to Sterling. It's a little one-touch back heel. Then it's Disasi. He cuts it back, and then it's Broha to Enzo. Is that right?
Which was that for the third goal?
Second goal.
Second goal. Yeah, Enzo had exactly. That's what he had the follow through.
Yeah. So, neither of those players at the start are great players by Broha, but like he's created 2 goals essentially, just with clever movement and just with, the mindset of a centre forward. And, that's where I think the pressure really goes on Middlesbrough, because me and you said it. I'm sure they'd said it themselves. I'm sure it had been referred to in training. Like, they're trying not to go 2 goals down and have to come from behind. They're trying to make this a fight, and it's pretty early in the game, and Chelsea are ahead. And, even in the first minute after the kickoff, Sterling dispossesses Matt Clark, and it's almost like an assertion of dominance, right? Like, Middlesbrough are now on the back foot, and now you're going to have to do really something special. And it's not long after that, the screenshot I showed, where now Palmer's finding space. He's facing forward. He's playing in Broha. I mean, you could see it creaking for Middlesbrough. They were,
and even in the second half, it kind of continued to go that way as well.
In terms of all the playing, it was a bit embarrassing, to be honest with you. But what's a shame is that's going to become the narrative about Carrick now, because people are going to watch this game and not watch Middlesbrough again the rest of the year.
Yep.
I don't feel like that's a game plan. I feel like they've got rattled. I feel like they've made some horrendous decisions, and I feel like Carrick's probably as disappointed as any now. He's the kind of manager that defends his players, but I can't help but thinking he's extremely disappointed in that. There's at 2-0 Chelsea, 2-1 aggregate, there's another counter-attack, and again, it's Silva v. Rodgers. There's no cover, but there's no threat either, to be honest with you. I thought Silva dealt with it, and then one of the things that when I say things like rattled, you can never say that with definitiveness. You can't read minds, but the third goal, I mean, come on, man. Matt Clark, he stares down a pass into the feet of Hackney. He plays it. Disasi wins it. And, it seems like Chelsea are just in a higher gear now. He plays it to Palmer. Yes. Palmer finds Sterling again. Sterling crosses back. Disasi's streaking in goal, and looks bad right now. Looks bad, and it actually gets worse, doesn't it? Because Barlasser is dispossessed by Palmer now. Under pressure, human nature, we do the easiest thing, right? Fall
it back to your comfort zone.
Yeah, Barlasser plays that ball up to Hackney, and Hackney kind of one-touch passes it back to Barlasser, and Hackney's looking. He can see that, Palmer's right there on him, but he's decided to play that ball back. It's just a bad decision, and Hackney knows it's a bad decision, but pressure and anxiety can do things to you, right? And Palmer takes it off him, 4-0, and it's over.
And frustration sets in at that point. And then that's when I think in the second half, not only that frustration, but kind of turned it almost into capitulation at that point. And we've all been there as players, right? You've been in that situation where we're getting our ass kicked here and we can't figure it out.
Well, what's interesting is Carrick at halftime. Like, I mean, what did you say? You can't lie, right? It's like, you can't say we'll probably win this. Like, for me, I've tried to think, like, during the field, like, what would I say? And it would probably be right. Like, I don't know whether or not we get out of this hole right now, but God knows we're in one. So,
Yeah.
like, what is our unity? What is our mindset? What is our buy-in to the overall mission of this season together?
Yep.
And I'll be honest with you, if I'm Carrick and I watch that second half and I see guys bail on them, I'm not forgiving you. You know, when we play someone like Sheffield Wednesday down, I'm not going to forget about it. So I
Yep.
think that's really the only benefit you can get out that second half. Now, can you reset, do the right thing, score an early goal and come back? Maybe, but I don't even know if that's in the conversation at half time. It's so out of hand.
Yeah. And it had it gone to half at 2-0 and a 2-1 on aggregate, maybe a different conversation. But after for me as a Chelsea fan, after that third goal with Disasi, he's not a right back. First off, he is a center back.
Yeah.
That's his primary position. I thought he played very very well on the right side, and I thought it was interesting as well. It wasn't just us using the left flank as the one to attack to and make these overloads and get chill and behind. We used Disasi far forward a lot as well. So that was a very good game plan. And I think you're right. That's a very good game plan decision from Pochettino to say, okay, and like you said it earlier, you guys got the better half of it in the first leg. Pochettino basically adjusted, made those counter moves, and said, if you want to win the center of the field, so be it. You can have the center. We'll go wide. We'll put our better players out wide, Chilwell specifically, and we'll see how you deal with that. And we're going to give you different decisions. So we're not just going to have, and we talked about that a lot in the first leg, a lot of very static lines of players, just, 1, 2, 3 running in straight lines. And it was completely ineffective. It made it very easy for Burrow. And I don't think that in the first leg, Chelsea utilized width as much. They definitely did in this one and completely flipped the script early on.
Yeah,
And
well,
I felt after that third goal, I felt there's no way back for them at this point.
yeah. And honestly, I mean, I don't know if Force is injured, but Force and Rodgers to me were Middlesbrough's two best players. I know that's slim pickings. And
Yeah.
to bring Force off for Andre Dijksteel, who I'm telling you is not even a notable attacking right back, it just felt a little bit like hanging on to not
Yeah.
get it out of hand. And Madueke comes on for Mudryk. I mean, it's like for like, good for Madueke. He gets to go on to a dead game. And I don't know what you think, but the first 15, 20 minutes of that second half, the psychological dynamic to me looked like Middlesbrough kind of like, do you know, like a boxer who's got up off the canvas, just trying to play their way back into the game.
Yep.
Chelsea kind of seeing the clock ticking, not feeling the threat. And it just felt like the intent on both ends dipped a little first 15, 20 minutes, which to be honest with you, any chance of a miracle comeback kind of just, for me, just siphoned away.
Yeah. Yeah. And it was, I mean, I will say as a Chelsea fan, I was shocked that that's the performance I saw. I did not expect that from Burrow at all. I actually thought this would be a very tight, nervy match the entire time that would go down to the wire with Burrow pushing forward to get an equalizer on aggregate. That's kind of how I thought it would go.
Yeah.
And did not expect this whatsoever, especially because Chelsea. Oh, we this whole season, the kind of the theme has been, and when you look at the data, and I mean so on and so forth, I have some issues with XG, especially in short, time frames. But there's been this whole conversation all season. Oh, we create all these chances, we just can't finish. That definitely changed yesterday.
Yeah.
A lot of good finishing, and like you said, a lot of good cutbacks because I think it was the last goal that we scored, and it was the one where Gallagher just went to the byline, beat him in the second half, and has a cutback pass right to Palmer, who doesn't even move. All he does is just open his angle up on his foot, and it just redirects right into the goal.
Yeah.
I mean,
And honestly,
that's the stuff that we've been missing all
touch,
season.
the first touch from Gallagher from a standing start to go past Barlasser, fantastic.
Yeah,
Like what a touch, and then he just drove past him. And at that point, like I said, that's 4 goals out of 5. Chelsea players driving to the byline, cutting it back. It's a game plan, and I'm a believer actually. Games like this can turn your season around. I
yeah,
really do believe that. It's not just that you beat Middlesbrough because Middlesbrough's second tier, but like when you feel like you're running up against a brick wall, and when you feel like you're doing the right thing and you're not getting the bounce of the ball, and when you feel like you're out of form, getting a game like this in front of a crowd, getting yourself to a cup final, getting goals in, getting that feel good factor,
Yep.
feeling kind of the dam break after being so frustrated at the Riverside. This could be a launch pad for Chelsea. I think you're too far back to challenge, obviously, but
Same.
you could see a much better remainder of the season. And maybe you've hit on some kind of game plan here especially with the return of Chilwell. Now, what if you get peak
Yeah.
Chilwell and James on either side? Now it starts to look really, really different, right?
Yeah. And I just want to say for Chilwell, I was shocked that he played that well because he's been out of the team for quite a while
I
now.
wasn't, to be honest with you. I'm telling that's England's best left back in my eyes.
I mean, if he can recover his form, because what he did in 2021 for us as a left wing back was amazing. But it's
Yeah.
been a lot of injuries for him, unfortunately, since then. But yesterday, I think, did show when this guy's fully fit, he does make a big, big difference. And even as a fan myself, you kind of forget about that. I mean,
Yeah.
you kind of do because you get so used to seeing, oh, okay, there's 2 matches of Chilwell, and now he's out for 3 months. You kind of forget the quality of those players and how big of a difference it can be when you have those guys on the pitch. And I would imagine now, get this guy more up to speed, let him basically integrate back into the squad. I don't know about James this season. Who knows? He did have to have hamstring surgery, which it's been a long road for him too, with just reoccurring hamstring injuries. I feel like the club would be best just hold him out this season, let
Yeah.
him get 100% healthy for his own good, kind of situation. But if we can, because we do have Malo Gusto, who I think is a pretty good backup on that right side. But no, I even said yesterday, I don't want to get ahead of myself as a fan and say that we're gonna really turn this around this season because I've kind of grown to expect with this team so far with the newer ownership. Right when we start taking a lot of steps forward, we start taking steps backwards again.
Yeah.
Uh, to say the least. But
Well,
this,
Friday is a good one. Is it Villa this Friday?
I think it's Newcastle in the FA Cup.
I think you got Villa in the
Or no,
same.
no, you're right. You're right. It's Villa on Friday. You're
Villa's
right. It's
very
Villa.
good. So win over Villa, like you might start to feel something, man.
No, if they can take down Villa, I will because I think Emery's maybe the most underrated manager in the game. I think he's phenomenal.
Yeah.
And what he's done at Villa is nothing short of amazing. But I want to say from this match, this was one of the more like free flowing offensive performances I've seen in terms of output and just overall performance in quite some time. And not, I feel like with Burrow, and this is something that I want to stress, and I've said to a lot of Chelsea fans and really learned this from you, but it wasn't like we're facing the strongest Burrow 11 that they could put out there, right?
No.
There's tons and tons of injuries, and I think that's important to note. Because I think some people might get carried away and think, well, oh, see, this is what we all expected. Burrow finally kind of found their level in this match. I don't think that was the case at all. I think it were the score
Well,
line.
Borough took Villa to life and death the week before the first leg, so
Yeah,
this was a good performance.
it was, and I think I want to just say that within that, the reason why the score line was so bad is personally, I think that as a player, when you're down 3-0, 4-0, you're down 4-0 half, you know, I can understand when levels drop a little bit myself. Not saying they should, but that's just kind of how it goes. At sometimes with some teams, they know their chances are very very slim, and then that can kind of just compound any mistake. And like you mentioned it earlier with the anxiety, the frustrations, the mistakes, the bad decisions, it all just started to compound it on itself, and just resulted in this collapse. But
Yeah, I mean the second half was childlike in the amount of
it was bad.
turnovers. I mean, goal six. I mean, I don't even want to hear about style of play and playing out the back for goal six. It's a bad decision, executed badly. Engels got the ball. There is no route to the centre forward. He might be passing to the centre forward's feet and not seeing a Chelsea player that he rolls the ball to. He might not be doing that. He might have mishit the pass by 5-10 yards, but it's just a horrific play. Gallagher's on it. Madueke's in.
Yep.
We're at 6 now. I mean, it's just a horrendous performance. And then Middlesbrough, I don't know if Middlesbrough come back or Chelsea are just playing out the string now, but we get a goal disallowed, which is actually a real smart little wily move by Silver. He steps up on Matt Crooks and just gets away with it.
Yep.
And then there's the Middlesbrough goal, and bit
That was a
soft.
well taken goal. I'll
It
give you
was, but
credit.
it's a bit soft by Disasi, isn't it? Look, I give it the
Yeah,
same thing. Like,
he didn't close down.
yeah, like he gets stepped inside real easy, but he's up 6-0. Does that matter? Does that not matter? I know it's easy to say, oh, everything matters, but I mean, it's 6-0 is 6-0. Um, I know that, yeah, it's a good finish, but yeah, I just
It's
feel Morgan Rogers is a good player. He's not a centre forward, probably Middlesbrough's best player on the night, but we need Latte Lath up front with pace and power, and we need Rogers operating behind him to really to make the playoffs and the running. I saw the Twitter's making fun of the Borough kid who's doing this in the crowd celebrating the goal. I mean, what do you want him to do, man? Sit there crying over it? Like I've been there myself. You know, I went to Villa once and we were 5-0 down and we scored, and it's the most I've seen Borough fans celebrate, falling over seats and everything. You know, the guy's actually a good guy. He's called Yusuf, and he's, you know, we're in that era where you get like semi-online celebrity fans. He's kind of one of those guys. He does a lot of dancing with the kids at games, and I don't know. I don't like the celebration police where you're not allowed to be happy at games anymore. You're supposed to take it seriously. I
no,
don't.
I I thought that was hilarious by the
Yeah,
Borough fan
so
who
did
was
I.
doing the Cold Palmer.
Yeah. It's kind of cool though, because Palmer even said Morgan Rogers, they're buddies from the City Academy apparently,
Oh,
and
really?
yeah, Rogers did it for Borough, and you can find the interview of Palmer saying he did it because Rogers did it. But I've seen kids in American leagues do it, so I don't know where it comes from.
I will say on that, on the note about the fans, I personally, when you guys scored, it was nice to see the away crowd just enjoying being there, right? Just
Yeah,
enjoying the goals, celebrating the team, supporting them. And honestly, a lot of times I wish Chelsea fans would have sort of a similar attitude, right?
yeah,
Just I'm not saying we should accept, we're getting blown out or something like that. But at times it feels like you're right. It is taken a bit too seriously, right? You've already lost the game. It's 6-1 and 6-0. It's an academic difference. It's semantics at that point. You still got
yeah,
your ass kicked, no matter how you want to slice it. But, you know, enjoy what you can at that point. You're on the road. You're in a semifinal. It was a
yeah,
really was it Rogers was who scored for you guys?
yeah. It was.
Yeah, that was a phenomenal goal, by the way. I thought he with that very quick step that he had to turn inside and then immediately fired that and just I thought it was really dangerous about his shot. Not only was the placement, but that final skip right at the end, right before it got to Petrovic. I thought he stood no chance because of that skip that it had on the ground. It was a very, very well taken goal, and I heard he's getting linked maybe with some Premier League moves this season.
Yeah, Villa. I'll be honest with you, I'm surprised because I like him. I do like him, but Villa let Ramsey go, and
Yeah,
like I got the difference between him and Ramsey to be this either way. To be honest with you, so I was surprised to see that, but you know, looking through the Borough lens, whether or not we keep Rodgers, we need as many as we can of Bangura, Jeng, Jones, Latilath, McGree, Silvera back in the team and try and make a run for the playoffs. I think we're 3 points off. And I mean, you tell me, you're the Chelsea fan, but Champions League long shot looking for Europa League. Like, where are we looking from here?
man, I think sixth place is starting to look a lot more likely right now. I'm starting to like our odds, and
Yeah, I mean that's
I've
West Ham. You can probably catch West Ham, right?
yeah, I think there are three with the draw that West Ham had this weekend. I think it's only a 4 point gap, if I'm not
But
mistaken.
that's nothing. What is it? Let me get this. 12 points from Champs League. You never know.
12. I mean,
You need
stranger
to run
things
a
have
form.
happened. I
Yeah,
think City a few years ago came back and won the title from like 9 or 10 down or something like that in December, January.
yeah,
Stranger things have happened. I think if this Chelsea squad can really start to find their form, I think if we're going to do it, I think the blueprint was sort of the match yesterday, where if we can have this midfield three with Caicedo, Enzo, and Palmer, as opposed to Palmer, Enzo, Caicedo, or not Enzo Caicedo, but excuse me, Caicedo, Gallagher. I think that specific three doesn't work as much. And I was talking to one of my other Chelsea friends about this. He used to coach with the Orlando City Academy, and he was saying, well, if you watch Gallagher and Caicedo, they have differences in their game, but they kind of do a lot of similar things.
yeah,
As far as just moving around a lot, right? And kind of being more of a ball winner, things like that. You know, whereas Enzo has a much different profile, I think. I think when you get him with somebody supporting him and he's not as good closer to the goal. Well, yesterday he did get the goal, But I think from what I've seen in almost a year and a half
No,
now,
I think you're right because look at the first leg when he spent all that time as a
it
pseudo centre
doesn't
forward, filling in for Czech Palmer.
it doesn't work.
Yeah,
It's just not his strength. And that's what I want to say with Graham Potter, and that's what a lot of Chelsea fans have had a criticism of with Pochettino is that under Potter we saw Enzo playing phenomenally, but he's playing deeper and a lot of spraying deep balls and switches. Whereas with Pochettino, he's trying to play him further forward. It's not really clicked as much this year. But I think that if we can now get that dynamic where those two stay back, let Palmer just run that 10 and run that central attacking zones, and then use our strengths out wide, I think it's definitely possible to get sixth. I don't know if we'll get fourth. Like we said, stranger things have happened, but 12 points is still a large gap. I think the only way we're going to get there is taking care of business against the teams we should, and then not having losses to those teams above us for that fourth spot. That's
yeah.
going to be the key. I mean, obviously, it sounds obvious, but man, I don't know if I want to say we get fourth, but my prediction this season was somewhere about 6th to 10th. But I'm starting to feel very optimistic that 6 is going to happen. Get into Europa League. And the best thing about Europa League is, well, in my opinion, it gives a lot of rotational chances for younger guys in those earlier rounds of the tournament.
Yeah.
So that's kind of where I'm seeing the odds at. And truthfully, if we get sixth place and we win this Carabao Cup final, pretty good season overall for Pochettino.
I think people water down the importance of winning cups because if you're not going to win the league,
Yes.
FA Cup, League Cup, like, you know, people say it doesn't matter, but it doesn't matter until it's been 5 years and everyone's crying we've never won a trophy.
Yep.
And they just want to win anything, you know. So I think getting a trophy would be significant.
Absolutely would be. And I think a lot of people are quick to discredit the cups whenever their team's not winning. But once they win it, oh, it matters now, right?
Exactly.
But those competitions mean a lot for teams like obviously Borough and a lot of other ones, right? These competitions still mean a lot.
Well, it's true, but I mean, if you think about it, we get told it doesn't matter to the bigger teams, but look at all the finals of the EFL Cup.
It's always
How many years in a row did City win it
uh,
and beat another power in the final?
they beat Chelsea about 2 or 3 times in the EFL final. Yeah, I mean and I agree with you. I think that there's you hear like this stuff on Twitter, the Mickey Mouse Cups and all that. It's just I don't know. I think that's a lot of nonsense.
I mean, when a player retires, you know, the medal collection is right at the top of the measure of what you did.
Yep, exactly. It matters, right? And I mean, and I think there's a lot of historical reasons why it matters too, for just all of the tiers of English football competing for this thing. But yeah, I've got a lot more optimism. I think if we're going to continue and kick on here, it's got to be more similar to what we saw yesterday, where we got to start using our strengths out wide. And Mudryk is maybe my biggest question mark there. I think he's at the professional level, at least, a bit of a guy who's just relying on pace a lot. He knows he's faster and more athletic than you, but come on, we got to get a little bit more of the tactical side of the game. You saw Enzo yelling and barking at him a lot for doing the wrong things in the first half. You saw Pochettino doing that as well with Mudryk and hooked him at halftime. So I think that guy, if he could get more just the overall, for lack of a better term, the IQ side of the game down, he could be a very special player. But man, it's just not clicking for him yet.
I think a big concern is you've battered Middlesbrough. You've had a wide game plan.
Yeah.
It's still not really there. Like, what did Mudryk do?
No.
Sterling ran riot.
Yeah.
Madueke
was more effective than Mudryk when he came on.
And gets a goal, like still not really. But I mean, there's no hiding here because we've got the fixtures a pretty good game. Very interesting game to me now. Haven't seen you both play Borough back to back. After the first leg, I would have picked Villa to batter you. And now after that, I'm not so sure. And then you got Liverpool away.
Yeah. And I mean, if I'm not mistaken, maybe only loss from, like December on to now is Borough away. So the form has really picked up for Chelsea. And one thing you can cite with that too is, well, you're playing some of the easier teams. And I don't disagree with that. But what I would say the flip side of that argument is, okay, we're playing the easier teams, and that's how we open the season. We open the season with a very favorable schedule. And quite frankly, we sucked. We just kept dropping points. And now we're not, right? So maybe there is a bit of it. And another thing with us too is usually December and January are the worst 2 months of the season. And it's been like that for years. I don't know what obviously there's something larger than just the calendar hitting December. It's probably just the matches really like pile up at that point. But we didn't have that malaise midseason this year like we have in previous seasons. So I do feel this is the most optimistic I've felt in a while, and I really want to see the Cup final win. I do. I mean, I that's where I'm at. If I can take a league, EFL Cup final, I'll take it. I'll gladly take it at this point because this team needs this club, the fans. There's just always this sense of animosity with this new ownership from a lot of the fans. Like they're quick to see anything go wrong and just jump on it. Oh, these stupid Americans! I told you they're gonna ruin my club. Blah 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 blah. It's just this droning negativity, and it's been going on for pretty much since they took over at this point. So this would feel like a big, moral victory in that sense of these owners not being incompetent, actually
Well,
getting some.
American owners are going to win that final, brother.
One way or another. So I guess
just don't know what color they'll be wearing.
Liverpool, I mean they've had quite a bit of success with some American owners as well. So yeah, I do have a lot of optimism going forward. But I did say earlier, I don't want to get ahead of myself and think that we're going to just go on this tearing run because I've seen enough from this young team. I know young players tend to have a little more inconsistency with them. I think there's going to be some steps back along the way. But I just want to, and I know progress is not really a linear thing a lot of times. But if we can just end the season, right, sixth place in a cup, I think that's a very good season for us. And it maybe would give a lot of argument for Pochettino maybe getting more of a long-term look at this job. That's where I'd be. But on the Borough side, how are you looking at the rest of the season? Is this one of those matches you kind of just say forget it?
We're a knife-edge team. I mean, I'm never a forget. It's like we're 3 points off the playoffs, 3 points with a lot of games left. I'm impressed. We're kind of hanging on where we are. Like, I think people forget how good the team was that was put out the playoffs in the semi-final. Chuba Akpom, who's scoring at Ajax now. Cameron Archer, who's playing at Sheffield United now. Aaron Ramsey, who's playing at Burnley now. Ryan Giles, who's playing at Luton now. Zach Steffen, who was at City and went to Colorado. So you've scraped off half the team. You've replaced them with a team arguably not as good on paper. You've ran up double-figure injuries and international absences, and we're still kind of clinging on there. So, like, I don't see why they can't finish 5th or 6th again. Now, why I'm hesitant to say that results in getting promoted is like, I don't believe football's logical, so I'm not saying we can't win it, but the team that lost in the semis last year was better than this team in my eyes. So I'm having a real hard time thinking we just waltz to a playoff victory.
It might be tough for you in that regard. I don't know how long-term those injuries are for you with some of those players.
Well, 3 of them are tournament absences. So Riley McGree's with Australia, Sammy Silvera's with Australia, starting goalkeepers with Senegal. Yeah, okay. Bangura Latilath, hopefully not too bad. I mean, 2 or 3 would be all right. You don't need them all back. But, like, Latilath's a big one for me. Like, I believe, and I think this first and second leg contrast showed it, I believe that transcendent false 9 team made the vast majority of the world thinking the role of the centre forward is less important than it actually is. Centre forward is a very, very important position. It's like a basketball team not having a centre. Rojas, to me, not even that good a centre forward, but was a pretty pivotal difference in this game just because he played centre forward. And Borough with Latilath in the team, I think Isaiah Jones is a better winger. I think Morgan Rogers is a better 10. And I think Middlesbrough is a significantly better team who also are a threat on the break. Without him, with a rotating door of Force, Coburn, now Rogers, I don't know, man.
Yeah. I mean, if you can get some of those guys back, get into that playoff final, who knows? Variance can take over. Roll the dice, see what happens. As far as Carrick, I would want to ask this question because I've seen some people on the Chelsea side act like Carrick is, I don't know why, really. I mean, I think it has to probably just do with his Manchester United ties, but they almost act like he was, not that great of a manager. From your perspective as a Borough supporter, I know what you're going to say, but like, what do you make of some of those suggestions? Because I see what he did in that first leg, and I'm like,
I think to see through the idiocy of the narrative around Carrick, 10 days ago, he was a park the bus merchant, and now he's naive and he overplays.
Exactly.
Which one is it?
Yeah, I mean, yeah, yeah.
But
No,
I've seen it for nearly 2 years now, and it's to be impressed by him, you have to understand what's happened over the long term. You have to understand the team with 84 goals that went to the playoffs, which was impressive in itself. But then all the talent that was scraped off the top of that team,
yep.
the 5-game winless streak, I think it was to open this season, and then to get it firing again. And then, the beauty of the injuries, you doesn't sit crying about them. There's some managers, all you need is to give them something to cry about, and you'll never hear the end of it. But they're still there. They're 3 points off. There's a lot of people going to have a lot to say about how he lost the semi-final of the League Cup. Middlesbrough, semi-final, League Cup.
I'm just saying.
Yeah. Like
say it again. Exactly.
Yeah. Aston Villa, 1-0, 88th minute. Villa's levels above Borough in terms of personnel. So I'm a lot more impressed with Carrick doing this with what he's got than, somebody who takes a top 6 team and finishes in the top 6.
Yep. No, and I think just as a Chelsea fan, I haven't gotten very many views of Carrick. But these last two, the first leg I thought was thoroughly impressive what he did. I mean, he I think functionally outclassed Pochettino mostly the entire match. And
he probably did.
Yeah, and didn't play the way I would have expected, right? I would have expected, okay, Borough are going to sit back. They're not going to do much. They're going to try to be very, very picky and choosy with their chances when they go forward, find their windows of opportunity, attack them. And if they don't score, at least we won't concede. But that's not really how they played, right? And you broke it down well in that first episode on here. They didn't do that, right? And that was very impressive to me. And maybe, you could, like you said, now the narrative will be all naive, trying to play out of the back, suicidal, terrible tactics, high lines. Why are you doing this on the road? But then again, not a whole lot is like we showed in that first few clips. Defensively, it was very similar, right? Pack the middle. So similar-ish game plan, but it was just moves and counter moves by Pochettino on the other side. And look, I mean, at the end of the day, you said it, that the talent levels here are different, right? And you had a lot of your best talent scraped away. I thought it was pretty impressive what the guy did in the first leg. And even in the second leg, you can't really blame him for his players just misplacing passes and really just being kind of sloppy on the ball. I mean, that's not tactics. That's just decision making and execution.
I'll be very concerned if the next time Middlesbrough play it looks like that. But I can tell you, I've never seen a Carrick team as bad as that in possession. Okay. And including, it's not the level of opposition because they played Chelsea last week and they weren't overplaying. Now, the last Middlesbrough team I remember that I thought was a little bit obsessed with style over substance was Jonathan Woodgate's team. Now, Jonathan Woodgate is the assistant. So I know there is a poetic mind in that Borough locker room about the way we play and all that. But like I said, this has not been an issue. It is one disastrous game on the road against a good team.
And it happens. I mean, it happens. I've watched Chelsea get battered this season. We played Newcastle and just got played off the park. I think it was a 4-1 final. Yeah. It happens. It happens to the best of us. So it is the way it goes, but I don't know. I think it's going to be a tough match for Chelsea in the final against Liverpool, no doubt.
Very tough. Yeah.
Everybody knows how good they are. They all know how good Klopp is as a manager. But we have played Liverpool earlier in the season. It was a 1-1 draw. So I've got some cautious optimism that the Blues can lift another cup trophy. But it's going to be a tough one, and we've lost this trophy a lot in finals the last several years, last 10 years or so. So hopefully this will be kind of a flip the script moment for us. But if we were able to win this one, and we do play Liverpool on the 31st of the month, so a week from today we play them. If we were able to beat them there, it'll be interesting to see too in that match how much each team shows their hand before the cup final to each other. But it's going to be interesting, no doubt. But definitely this 6-1 was not what I was expecting. I'll just say that again. I did not expect this outcome at all.
I'll tell you what I'd be excited about if I was you. You're in one cup final. Now, what if
be in two?
What if you beat Villa? What does that take in the last 16?
I think it would be at least the quarters, right?
Quarters, I think, is round 6. So I think you'd be in the last 16.
Be pretty nice.
Yeah, and you never know what kind of draws you're getting. Like
No.
that would be a nice game to win, and you got again more momentum going into a real tough game at Liverpool.
Yep. Yep. We'll see. I mean, it's gonna be a tough one, but for the first time in a while, I'm starting to feel like okay, because we've thought we've turned the corner, like the City 4-4 match and a couple of those other ones. Everybody thought we turned the corner, then we take another step back. But we've taken a lot of steps forward in the last month and a half or so. So I'm starting to feel like maybe the corner is being turned here. But we'll see. We'll see. There's a lot of season. There's a lot of things that we don't know that are going to happen. And but hey, I'm just going to enjoy this one as we get it, and I'm hoping that we get this cup final. And yeah, we'll see. We'll see. I think Chilwell being back, I hope we don't overplay him and get him injured or something like that. But be smart with him, be strategic with him. We do have other guys who can fill in. Problem is they just can't fill in at nearly the level he can. So it'll be interesting. It'll be interesting. But any final thoughts, Stu, before we wrap up?
Been a pleasure. Be rooting for you in the final. I feel like we've bonded.
Absolutely. Hey, it'd be great to have you back on too, as well. I don't know even if it's Burrow or not, but I want to thank you for coming on. I think it's been a really informative episodes, for us breaking it down. A lot of insights from you. You've worked with players in a coaching environment for a very long time, and you got that experience and knowledge to work with and explain things. And like I said, I know you said there was a lot of good feedback on your end from the first episode. Same on my end. So I want to really thank you for taking the time out of your day and joining us for the episode. I've thoroughly enjoyed the conversations.
Appreciate it. And thanks to everyone listening.
Absolutely. Hey, man, take it easy. I'll talk to you later.